Now let's take the example as though the guru was a personal trainer, a trainer of some physical sport or martial art, some sort of physical discipline. If we had a personal trainer and the personal trainer instructs us to move in a certain way, to do a certain maneuver or a certain action, we would readily follow that straight away. Because we have an impression within ourselves that that instruction is going to benefit us, is going to serve us in some way. If we are here to learn how to become proficient in that sport, in that martial art, any move that you teach me is going to help me become better at performing that. But for some reason, with the Guru's wisdom, we're not able to accept the Guru's instructions so easily, so readily. And that's because we've made Sikhi into a religion with an end goal rather than an immediate benefit. If the personal trainer gives you a move, you feel straight away, I've learned something new. And that something new is part of what I'm here to learn. But when the Guru gives you an instruction, we feel like the benefit is far away. There isn't some immediate benefit. So we feel justified in rejecting the endeavors, the saram, the efforts that the Guru has recommended. And so we have to begin to understand, how should we listen to the Guru? How should we apply the Guru's teaching? How do we take on this idea of restraint, of discipline? Having an anvil-like mind means to accept no matter what our mind thinks, no matter if our mind understands that teaching. We all know the famous scene within a great film, The Karate Kid. The teacher instructs the student to paint the fence. The student doesn't understand why. But only later on does the student realize that that particular action was beneficial. And as long as we don't understand what the Guru is doing, we feel justified in saying that instruction is not right for me, because we can't see the immediate benefit. The Guru is giving you immediate benefit, but because our mind hasn't understood it, we reject that. So having an anvil-like mind means to just take it, to accept it, to be there and let the Guru do what the Guru is here to do. Let the trainer train you. Don't you be the obstacle to your own learning. And so the first instruction that the Guru has said is we need to adopt discipline, self-control. Now, if you look back at your list of things that you want to improve in your life, there's a very high probability this isn't the first time that you've tried to improve yourself. Some of us have made many previous attempts to make a change in our life, but we've always fallen back into our old ways. Why does this happen? What do we need to sustain our discipline? What do we need to allow us to persevere? Guru goes on to say, Pau khala agan tap tao. Fear is the bellows, the flame is discipline. With fear as the bellows, fan the flames of discipline, tap tao. We've come across this word tap tao before, where Guruji talks about asank puja, asank tap tao. There are countless worships and countless austerities, difficult methods of worship. So the word tap means a difficult physical method of worship, and Tao means actions or efforts. Interestingly, the word Tao also means blaze or heat. So Guru's using this analogy of a metal worker having a hammer, having an anvil, but also having somewhere to melt that metal. And that metal needs to be melted using hot flames and a furnace. But when we look at how Gurbani has spelt the word tap, we can notice that tap is missing an ankar. If the word tap just meant doing hard work, it would have to have an ankar. If Tao was related to the fire, if Tao meant the blaze, then tap would have to have an ankar, because tap would be a self-contained word. The fact that tap doesn't have an ankar means that we have to link tap to the next word, which is Tao. So tap Tao, we know, means efforts to doing hard discipline. So let's go back to our analogy. What's the Guru saying? In any fire, in any furnace, when air is blown into that fire, it significantly improves the fire, increases the flames, and increases the temperature. By blowing hot air or cold air, or blowing oxygen into that flame, it increases the flame. So the flame is really important in any furnace. In this analogy that the Guru is using, the flame is the bedrock of the whole process. If you want to take raw metal and convert it into some sort of jewel, the only way to do it is to utilize a flame. So if discipline is the flame, tap Tao, then fear is the thing that motivates the flame. Pao khala agan tap Tao. Think about the analogy. There is a flame, but something is keeping that flame burning, keeping it bright, keeping it alive. Guruji is saying, Pao khala. Fear is that pipe that is blowing into the furnace of discipline. So if you want to keep yourself motivated in being steadfast in your spiritual development, if you want to keep the flames of discipline alive, Guru is saying that we need to blow that flame with fear. And the reason we don't follow through with our discipline is because we don't understand the consequences of not following through. We're not afraid of the consequences. In fact, the whole world has abandoned dharam because of a lack of fear. Because we've convinced ourselves that with our free will, with our own thinking, comes our own freedom. And while free will does free you from the concept of some supernatural, high, almighty being, your free will hasn't adequately helped you deal with suffering within the mind. Letting your mind just do whatever it wants hasn't led to a happy mind. So this should be your fear. That if you don't follow the Guru, if you go back into your mind's way of thinking, your mind has always led you to suffering. That should be your fear. That should be the reason that says, I need to follow what the Guru is saying, because I can't trust my mind anymore. So we're not fearful of some punishing God. That's not what we're talking about. Rather, we fear the consequences of our failure. We should fear the consequences of our vices. Not from punishment, but from the suffering that they inflict upon us. And the suffering that our vices inflict on others as well. Your lust, your anger, your greed, your attachment, your pride, These are harming you, and these are harming the people around you. And they steal something beautiful from within you. They're stealing an inner happiness that's already there. They're stealing a serenity within you. There's another way to understand fear. When we think about fear, we think about being afraid of someone who's more powerful than us. That kind of fear breeds hatred towards that other person. But there's another type of fear, a fear based on love. The fear of lovers. When you're in love, the only fear that you have is being away from the one that you love. So there is a fear that breeds hatred, and there is a fear that breeds love, that is born out of love. If God is the supreme bliss of the universe, then to be away from that bliss is the fear we need to motivate us. If God is bliss, then the fear you need to have is that you are not in your bliss. And the Guru's teaching is trying to get you back to your own divine bliss. So take a fear based out of love, not out of hatred. And don't let your discipline die down. Keep the love and the bliss of that oneness in your heart as your motivation. So we need discipline, and we need to follow what the Guru has instructed and recommended for us. This isn't about rules, this isn't about rituals. Yes, the Guru recommends Amrit Vela. Yes, the Guru recommends the Nitnem. But it doesn't stop at your Nitnem, it doesn't stop at your Amrit Vela. It doesn't mean that if you do those things, that's enough. You've done what is needed at Saram Khand. Remember, Saram was first mentioned in Pauri 28, and there were a huge list of characteristics and qualities around contentment, around trust, around treating everyone with a universal brotherhood. We have to build upon those characteristics. So, Saram Khand, the discipline that you need to have is a discipline of your character, discipline of your mind, discipline of your vices, of thinking sweet things, of speaking in a sweet way, having a softness. Remember, we're talking about melting metal. If you take something rigid and hard, your discipline is a flame that's softening you, that's melting you, that's turning something cold and hard into something warm and soft. And in the same way, we have to take the rigidity of our mind, how we deal with ourselves, how we deal with others, and make it into a loving, soft mind that it can be molded by our discipline. If your discipline is hardening your mind, is increasing your ego, is making you think how great you are, then it isn't a flame that is melting your mind. It isn't a discipline that is molding you into something beautiful. Remember, Saram Khand creates something beautiful. Saram Khand ki bani roop. Tithe kadat kadiye bahut anup. What is created here is of indescribable beauty. Your mind has to be created into something that is so beautiful that you yourself fall in love with the purity of your own mind. The question is, are you ready to take on this challenge? Is the reward of this super consciousness, of this Sachkhand, sweet enough to tempt you.